I just want to toss this out because I think it's hysterical. And in fact, if you have an experience you'd like to share, we need to have a conversation with the people in Washington State and Colorado about eating pot. Okay? I got to tell you, from personal experience and the experience of friends and family, don't eat pot. Smoke it, and if you're concerned about getting lung cancer, and there's virtually no evidence that smoking pot causes lung cancer, or if you have asthma or something, use one of these atomizers, these inhalers, these things that heat it up super fast, and there's a word for them, but they're vaporizers. Thank you. Use a vaporizer. And here's Maureen Dowd is writing about this in the New York Times, right? She was in Denver, and pot's legal now. You can walk into your local store, just like walking into a liquor store. You can walk into a pot store and say, "Hey, I'll take a gram of that." And so she got some candy that was laced with pot. And this is the danger. See, when you're smoking pot, and I think we can have this conversation now. Actually, at the first of this year, the president actually signed legislation making it legal for states to grow hemp on an experimental or research basis. Hemp, of course, is not pot, but we're moving in that direction. And they've dialed back their enforcement against individuals in states where pot's legal, and they're not going after, apparently, these legal pot stores. Although there still is that guy in California who's like facing 25 years for having a dispensary. But in Washington State and Colorado, pot is legal. So Maureen Dowd goes to Colorado and says, okay, I'm here in Colorado, pot is legal. I got to try this stuff. And I don't know if she'd ever taken any kind of psychoactive substance before in her life or not. But, it's kind of, if so, it's kind of late in life to be starting out. But hey, it's never too late. So she eats a candy bar. She eats her part of a candy bar laced with pot. And then she says, and I quote from her piece, her column in the New York Times, she says, "But then I felt a scary shudder go through my body and brain. I barely made it from the desk to the bed, where I lay curled up in a hallucinatory state for the next 8 hours. I was thirsty but couldn't move to get water or even turn off the lights. I was panting and paranoid, sure that when the room service waiter knocked and I didn't answer, he'd call the police and have me arrested for being unable to handle my candy. I strained to remember where I was, or even what I was wearing, touching my green corduroy jeans and staring at the exposed brick wall. As my paranoia deepened, I became convinced that I had died and no one was telling me." Okay, so Maureen Dowd had a bad trip. She had a bad experience, and I absolutely understand that. As a teenager, I took a fairly wide variety of drugs, including hallucinogens and pot. And Louise, Louise has never been a fan of pot because when she was a kid, she smoked some that was really, really strong, and it just whacked her. And she had an experience not all that different from Maureen Dowd's. We always told our kids growing up that if you ever get in trouble, you can call us and just simply say the code words, "Don't ask me anything about it, just come get me." And one day, one of our kids called, and we did. And I'm not going to identify the child, but that child ended up a young teenager who had been at a party and tried something. And to this day, I'm not sure what it was, although the story I got later was that it was probably pot laced with ecstasy or something. That child ended up curled up in our bed between Louise and I all night, just, trying to come down from this bad trip. And I've seen people, I saw people when I was a teenager in the 60s go through bad trips and kind of walk them through it. And here's the thing, and the Twitter responses to Maureen Dowd are hysterical, but here's the thing. When you smoke pot, you get high within seconds. It's just like tobacco. This is the reason why it's not a good idea one of the reasons why chewing tobacco has such a lower nicotine content than smoking tobacco. If you chewed up a couple of cigarettes, you could die. Right? 2, 3, 4 cigarettes, there's enough nicotine in there to kill a person. A whole pack will definitely kill you. It happens to babies around the country every year. There are babies who die from eating mom or dad's cigarettes or older brother, sister's cigarettes. Nicotine is used as a pesticide. In fact, it appears to be what's killing bees. So by smoking it, it goes into your lungs. Your lungs are rich with blood vessels. It hits your blood within seconds. Your blood gets to your brain within seconds. And within a minute or two, in the case of pot, it's a little more slow acting than things like cocaine or heroin or something like that. So, within maybe 3 or 4 minutes at the very least of the time that you took a toke, you're as high as you're going to get. And you can say, okay, I'm in a pleasant place. Or, I think I'll go higher. Or I think I'll just hang out. Or this is too much. I'm going to just wait for a couple of hours and let it wear off. Or maybe even have a beer to try and soften it. Or take a Valium and go to sleep. These are, I'm not offering medical advice here. I'm just telling you what I've seen in my life, what I've seen people do, and what I myself have done. So anyhow, that's why eating it is a mistake, because you can eat an overdose of pot really easily. And I think, frankly, when states legalize pot, they should not legalize making it into food for other than medicinal purposes. It makes perfect sense to me if somebody has, they're going through chemo or they have some, medical condition that is treatable with pot, that they go to a medical dispensary that gives them a known dose cooked into brownies or in candy. But for recreational use, I think it's a big mistake. And I think Colorado is going to get themselves in trouble by having an industry where there's edible pot. Anyhow, here's some of the tweets. What if New York Times Dowd really did die from her candy bar and we are her afterlife? Maybe. Another one, Gail Collins said, if you think about it, we're all strapped to the roof of Mitt Romney's car in a way. Yeah. Someone else said, I demand that someone turn this Maureen Dowd column into a sitcom pilot. I guarantee you that's coming. And someone else said, I thought Maureen Dowd was high all the time. I actually, somebody else said, I read Maureen Dowd's column. Honestly, it's way better if you imagine Peggy Noonan wrote it. But, the fact of the matter is that she's onto something, and I think it's a conversation that we should have. And if you've ever had that experience, we need to be telling people, if you're going to make a drug legal and available, there should be education in the schools in Colorado that says, just like they do with alcohol, they say, if you're going to drink, don't binge drink, don't drink and drive, wait a half hour for that drink to affect you so you know how high you are before you have a second one. Don't chug hard liquor. We should be doing the same thing with pot.